Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. I am Kate Dillon with Crate Insider, and I'm here today with Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines. So how are you doing today, Steve?
Good.
Well, you got to move up into the microphone.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Don't be a dork about it.
Well, I mean, fine.
You just can't sit across the room from the microphone.
Okay.
That's
right.
all.
Well,
We're going. We are headphones away from going Rogan style over here.
Old school shit here.
No, it's not.
Or is this new school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, if you come on, you watch all those gun tube things.
Yeah.
And you got the professional podcasting dudes with the headphones and the microphones. And I mean, this isn't the super spendy microphones.
I got you.
But I mean, they're not bad. They're not bad microphones. They're
okay.
But anyway, it's not old.
I did not mean for you to defend your microphones at the first part of it, talking about shit today.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was going to come up. So, there you go. I know our Wi-Fi is being a little glitchy, but pardon me for that. Nothing I can really do about that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I can just tell the pictures.
Did you try turning it off and back on again?
I've turned everything off and back on again.
Okay.
All right. Well, I see Scott is here. He says hi from California, where parts and pieces are falling off into the ocean.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew there was a ton of rain. It's just a matter of time before cliff homes are going to start falling off.
Yeah. Like my hometown's like Fubart, I think.
Yeah. So I have not watched the news at all. If there have been things falling into the ocean.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Anytime, you get this kind of crazy shit and massive waves and everything else, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. I see BBQ 79 is here. He says, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Andrew is here saying good evening and welcome. Welcome to you guys. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Any questions that you have, tech questions or otherwise, feel free to drop them into the comments and we are happy to answer them. Well, I will read them and Steve will answer them most of the time.
My brain's a little bit slow today, so maybe.
Oh.
Don't ask anything too hard.
Are you having a case of the Mondays? Well, no, I mean, the movie. Where's your flare?
Right.
Oh, I'm talking about Office Space. If we're like dating ourselves with the reference there, but yeah, it's a great movie.
Having a case of the Mondays.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that movie. All right. Let's see here. We've got Craig here. He says, big game coming up, Steve.
Yep.
Go Bucks.
Exactly.
Okay. Bucks fan.
Screw the freaking Cowboys. I hope they lose.
Dude, you don't want to invite that kind of bad.
No, anytime I'm going for a damn team in the playoffs, they're going to lose. So I'm going for the Bucks. Well, no, I don't know. Brady might pull some magic.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and Dak might throw like 12 interceptions tonight or something, which would be about what he's due for since, it is the first playoff round and Dallas normally loses in the first playoff round.
Well, I just normally don't wish ill will upon anybody because that stuff will just come back.
Oh, it's a whole team I'm wishing ill will on, not just somebody.
Well, yeah, okay, all right. Andrew says, question for Steve. Does he know much about Warrior chassis?
I don't actually. I've never owned one. I know that the Goddards have sold Warrior to I don't remember who.
Mike Knuckles.
Yeah, Mike Knuckles.
He's owned it for a few years.
Yeah. And I think he's producing a good product. I just don't know enough about him to really be able to comment. I mean, even back when Goddard's had it, I mean, they always made a nice product.
Well, and a good resource for that would actually be Jonathan Masters. He's got raceknowhow.com, and he does all of these, different chassis setup and those types of videos as a membership program. And I know Mike is one of his major contributors because they did a paid seminar at the Cars Racing Show. So I know there's a big collaboration and there'll be a lot of videos over there on Race Know-How talking about different setup things. And while it may not be Warrior specific, I doubt Mike would talk about the items unless they applied to his chassis.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of general knowledge for any chassis.
Yeah. All right. So here's a question from James. He says, how many RPMs would be gained by changing from a Saginaw Muncie type trans to a Bryn or a Burt? He's got a 602, trying to figure out how far off I'll be on gear.
Well, you wouldn't gain RPM per se. I mean, I see what you're saying. The acceleration rate is what you're after. And I would think it would be somewhat significant because on a Muncie or Saginaw style transmission, obviously you got to have a flex plate with a hub. So that can be eliminated once you got a Burt or a Bren or whatever. And so that just that rotating mass itself is going to be, I couldn't give an exact number because it's just nothing I've ever tested back to back. But yeah, I think gear wise overall, you'd probably be very close to the same within 10 points. I don't think that would be even a factor. So yeah, probably within 10 points, easy.
Cool. All right. Marcus Erie says, howdy, y'all. Listening in the shop, working on my stock car, and Office Space is great. Yes, that is such a great movie. We have to add that to like the movie pile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We have movie night on Sunday nights with our friends, and we all like picked like 3 movies and put them on a scrap of paper and threw them into a solo cup. And so we draw out a movie every week.
Other than last night.
Yeah.
We just kind of chose one because we were missing a movie partner last night. So.
Yep. Let's see. Craig says they haven't won in 30 years since 1992. I take it.
Exactly.
Is that Dallas or
yes.
Okay? All right. Stuart's here, and he's good day, mates. Hi from Australia.
Yeah.
Steve, how far is Indianapolis from you? I might have found a way to get a slab or 2 of VB shipped there.
It's actually like an 8-hour drive, 8.5-hour drive.
That's far for us.
I could actually potentially drive there for.
You probably would.
VB.
You would drive there for VB. Yeah, you would. I know you would. Either
Probably.
that or you'd fly. Be like,
Yeah.
I wonder,
They got like $99 round trip
I don't know what.
to Indy. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, I don't think that those flights really exist so much anymore.
Uh,
I mean, maybe Allegiant, but then you'd still have to drive back because you couldn't get all that liquid
That's
on
true.
the plane.
yeah, that's true. Fly up, drive back. Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, nice little weekend trip there. All right. Andrew says he's looking at a 14 chassis, but wondering if it came off jig back then with a raised right front rail and cross member.
It would have come off the jig back then, I assume, on the Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that would have been the older version of the car.
Because
Knuckles had it, 2 years now?
No, he's had it longer than that. Because back the last time I went to PRI in 2019, he already owned it then.
Okay.
So I mean, how much?
Hard to say. Yeah,
then?
I don't honestly know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, it'd be worth a call to Warrior.
Yeah, just call.
Say, hey, here's the chassis number. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Mike's a really cool guy. Just give him a call and talk to him, and see if it's something that is going to suit your needs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he would have the experience to know about
absolutely.
that. Really, really easy guy.
Well, he's gonna have all the history of Warrior anyway. So I mean,
right?
They're gonna have chassis numbers on them. So
yeah, I'd say give him a call.
Yep.
Yeah, and let's see. All right, Timmy's here. He says alternator or no alternator.
Alternator if you're running a 12 volt. I don't see it as being necessary if you're running a 16 volt, unless of course you're running like a 525 that fires off the coil packs, and then yes, you need an alternator no matter what you're running for voltage.
Gotcha. BBQ says, hey, Steve, do you still do open motors or just crates?
Man, I wish I still did open motors because it would I don't know. I enjoyed that stuff more than the crate stuff, but no, I honestly don't have time for it. And most open motor applications, I would be so far behind on technology that I wouldn't want to buy one for me. So
hey, you're just a Google search away. That's what we say in my office. I know it's not the case.
No. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'd just be copying somebody else probably if I did an open motor. But
well, you guys have a really good system on how you handle the crates, and you got so much business that you didn't have to worry about that. Andrew says he's going to message some people and see about the Warrior there. All right. Steve's here. He says, Steve Peden. Yay. Can you explain the ARTS thermostat system and the benefit? We should probably do a whole separate video on this.
Honestly, we should.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a while.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, the way the the way that works is obviously the thermostat, you've got the housing, and then you've got a piece that extends off to the front, and you got the thermostat built in there. So obviously when it's closed, it's blocking off water from, going through the radiator, circulating. But on the backside, it's got a bypass that goes to the water pump. So the water is in constant circulation within the engine. So there's no chance for what do you call it?
Cavitation.
Cavitation in the pump. And so other than that, it works like a normal thermostat. It eliminates that cavitating aspect of things.
Well, the really cool thing about it is we're finding that by getting your car up to temperature that you're saving a bunch of fuel.
Oh God.
So
yeah, if
much
you're on
fuel.
E85 or methanol, this is like, fuel saving. Awesome deal.
Well, and Art also found that even running in the dead of summer that these cars were running cooler too.
Yeah, true.
So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, and Stuart says it's all good, brother. I will work on sending the VB from there to Ruffton.
Yes. Awesome. Dude, you'd be my hero. I would talk about you for like every show from now until eternity if you could pull that off. Because my freaking ex-wife was just in Australia, and I said, just bring me 2 cans. She's like, no, all I took was a carry-on bag. I couldn't bring 2 cans. I'm like, well,
it's one thing to bring a carry-on bag there, but I mean, I will travel with a carry-on. I mean, only carry-on, but then I know that I'm going to buy things or get things. And then when I come back, I'll be checking that stuff.
I even gave her an option. I'm like, dude, give me like 2 cans of EB or like a pack of Winfield Blues. I'd have been good with either one. But no, I didn't get it.
Wow.
That's why she's an ex-wife.
There you go. All right, Henry and Christy are here. He says Steve here Steve here in Ohio and Northern Kentucky, we do not season techs or series checking crates. Is there direction we can steer track owners to educate themselves and their techs?
Oh, as far as like checking the engines and stuff?
Yeah.
Unfortunately not. There's nothing in place to like help any of those guys, try to, learn how to tech all this stuff. Essentially what they need to do, I mean, back in the day when a lot of the series were starting around in Carolinas, I mean, the series would have their like tech men come to my shop and I'd actually show them how to tech them. So honestly, what they need to do is get with like a certified engine builder who knows the rules and follows the rules, and then show these guys how to tech the engine. And that's because, again, there's nothing other than just that golden rule book from GM.
Yeah, I'd have a couple other suggestions on this. I mean, part of this also lands on the sanctioning body. So depending on what your tracks are sanctioned, I know that I've certainly seen with the Rush Racing series that they've done their engine builder meeting every single year, and with that, I believe that
and they also go around and spot check too.
Well, right. But at that engine builders meeting, the whole point is of having that is to really share like, hey, this is what you need to be doing because this is the right way. But I think that would also be a beneficial experience for the tech guys as well.
Yeah. And also, for sure. And I mean, but, anytime I see something new on an engine, like we've got a rash of cylinder heads right now that are coming from GM that have been ground on in the intake and exhaust ports from the factory, getting rid of casting flash. Years ago, that was like a big no-no. Like if you saw that, it's like, oh, nope, can't use that head. But now you have to because you can't get freaking engines or heads. So, and I'm not talking like ground on performance advantage wise. I'm talking like ground on literally getting rid of casting flash. But apparently the supplier GM is too stupid to realize that, hey, that's going to cause problems because somebody's going to get a motor tore down. And there's going to be a grind mark in there, and some idiot tech man who doesn't know any better is going to try to toss them out.
Well, I mean, I think, for dudes that are doing that, because is that kind of like where you've got the welding, like knobs kind of thing when you say casting flash?
It's just casting flash from where the heads are cast.
What is casting flash?
Well, it's just like, chunks that stick out that shouldn't be sticking out, stuff like that, and they go in there and hit it with a grinder.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if these guys don't understand what the application is, and then it's just, they think it's just going to go to into a hot rod and nobody's ever going to see it, or into a truck or something, then they would have no reason to know that. But, it would really be good to get that information, that these are racing engines, get that information shared throughout the chain.
I mean, at the trade show that we were at, I had a guy come up to me and show me pictures of an intake manifold on a 602 he just bought that GM had ground inside the intake manifold where there was casting flash, but it's a factory sealed 602. And he showed it to like a series, and the series is like, oh no, we'd call that wrong. And like a couple other dudes he showed it to, oh no, we'd call that wrong. He shows it to me. I'm like, yep, typical GM. No way I'd call that wrong because it's not performance enhancing, and that's we see that shit.
Yeah, it's very typical. I mean, that's a really great question.
It's on the series to be involved with engine builders to know what's going on.
Well, and that's something we've talked about before is maybe putting together a course about tech, but you just don't want it. The hard thing is you just wouldn't want it to be misused, so that then you wouldn't want to. You want the tech people to be informed, but you don't want the cheaters to find ways around things.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so it's a tough deal.
It's just, it's obvious. I mean, to me, like, all right, so GM hits the inside of an intake port or exhaust port with, a grinder to get rid of casting flash. Well, number one, the short side radius ain't laid back. There's no porting and polishing. It's just some dude with a grinder got in there and went, rip. Okay, that's good. We'll send it out the door.
Yeah. So. Gotcha. Cameron is here. He says, hello, everyone. Thank you for another great Cars Racing show. It was very successful for Chris and I. Thank you again to you all. Yep. Well, wonderful.
It was a good show.
I'm glad that was a success. It was great to see you at the show. I'm very pleased with the results of the Cars Racing show, and we're really looking forward to doing it again next year, because when do we start planning the next show? Like, before the other one's even over.
Right.
And Dean is here saying, do you have dirt car sealed 602s?
I do not, no.
Nor do I. No. They keep that pretty close to the Northeast, to engine builders up there in the Northeast. Steve, I had another question that came in throughout the week, and I thought it would be really beneficial to add it here. And the question was, do you need to re-shim your valve springs every time you change them?
No, you don't.
So you just keep the shims.
Once that install had this set, it's set.
Great. So. I mean, and I think that's something that, I actually wasn't quite sure, but a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you get that question a lot.
Every now and again.
Yeah. So was your phone ringing a bunch today?
It wasn't too bad today, honestly.
Somehow my phone number has been shared with some kind of like, hey, spammers, if you want a number to call that will always be answered.
Call this one.
Oh my God. I had so many spam calls today on my main number. I mean, I'm used to it on some other numbers, but not on my main one.
Yeah.
I was not a happy person.
Yeah. Well, once you identify them, they always call from the same damn number. So I've got like a 828-281 number that calls every freaking day, twice a day. After the first time picking it up, I just don't answer it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole spam system is really weird right now because sometimes my number will show up as spam, I've been told. And I'm like, I'm not spam and calling anybody.
Well, it could show up as spam if somebody spoofed your number.
Oh.
Because I had that happen at the shop. I get random calls. Yeah, you just called me? I'm like, huh? No, I didn't. Oh yeah, my number's been spoofed, so.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a bunch of freaking camel jockeys now trying to rip people off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Henry says, thanks, Steve. Sorry for the grammar. Watching this in football pregame. Love your mufflers. No worries. No worries. We just read right through. Yeah. It's all good. And Brian says, all of us racers get accused of cheating sometime in their careers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it amazes me how many times that everybody thinks it's the engine.
Oh, it's always the engine.
Well, it's always the engine. Yeah. It's always the engine unless you lose. But then it's still the engine because I didn't have enough power.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Even though you're racing on 5-year-old shocks and 1-year-old tires, shit like that,
It can't possibly be, anybody else's fault or anything. No. What are you thinking? Steve, Just don't know what to say there. So you've been cranking out some engines here recently.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Would you get like 6 of them out last week?
Last week, yeah.
It's a lot.
Got one done today, which is headed to Florida, or not Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know a lot of our customers are heading down to Volusia.
Yep.
I think most of them are leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
From what I've seen and heard, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I bet you have a lot of customers. Let's see. Oh, Alan says it's not cheating; it's just unapproved.
Unapproved.
Unapproved. Yes, it's not illegal. It's unlegal.
Well, one of the things, like you brought up, like Rush doing their engine builders meetings.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we stress with that when I'm involved with it and able to get there for it is, and honestly, Ingram and all that, usually we're like on a panel and talking to guys. And like one of the things we stress is if it's not in that yellow book, do not freaking do it. So.
Right. Well, and I'm sure that was a big switch for you. It's.
Oh, for me it was, yeah.
You're always trying to get extra or more,
mm-hmm.
but to be.
Yeah, me and Dad started doing this in like 2007, 2006, probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, somewhere around there. And I mean, the whole name of our game was always, open engine stuff, and you're always reading the rule book, and then you're looking at the gray area, and then you're, pushing the gray area and shit like that. And this was like no gray area, so it took a little bit to kind of understand that and get in that swing of things.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, is that it's up to spec.
Yeah.
And being at a spec, it's just basically it's a spec engine.
Absolutely.
And following the spec, and that's it. Yep. Like no, it's Price is Right rules.
Mm-hmm.
You can go this far without going over.
Correct.
Or under, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, just all of that stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, anything new? Did you see anything new at the show?
No, not really. I don't think so. Now then again, I was just like talking to a lot of people. I wasn't really looking at a lot of products, but I was talking to a lot of people. Yeah.
I'll have a couple of new products. Oh, speaking of new things, we have an exciting promotion going on at Crate Insider that Buck reached out to us from Daytona 1, and kind of as a follow-up from the show, that we are doing a special promo on our website that if you get $100 or more of Daytona 1 products, you'll automatically get $20 off.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's a 20% discount.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'll take it. That's
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, really cool of Buck from Daytona 1 to offer that to us. So that's going to go for 10 days. So until January 26th.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So just order $100 worth of Daytona 1 stuff, get $20 off your order. So really cool. Really cool. And let's see. Craig says, Steve, what are you actually allowed to do when you do a crate motor at your shop? He happens to have a 602.
All right. So what we do is something that's called blueprinting. All right. That's had a bad name because of, a certain series owner in the past. But what it actually means is we're following a blueprint. So we go by the GM tech manual. And in other words, they give you tolerances that you have to work within. Don't go under, don't go over, depending on what the tolerance is. And that's what we're working around. So for instance, let's take an engine block. Technically, which I would never put one there, but technically you can be at 9" 19 on deck height. We put them at 9" 21. Well, when they come from the factory, it could be, you could have a, 9" 30 deck height on one side. You could have 9" 25 on the other side. So we're allowed to actually deck that and do what GM can't do and make both sides equal, that kind of thing. And, cylinder heads, obviously there's a combustion chamber volume rule. So you get that right. You get the valve job right, because very rarely is a GM valve job around. Same with the cylinder bores. I don't know how they do it, but 99.9% of the time, the freaking bores are square. Still have no idea how they do that. Most recently, 2 brand new engines I got in my shop right now, the connecting rods were 1,000 tight. So you got 1,000 or less bearing clearance. So we're doing the stuff that they can't do. We're making shit right, and they can't do it because it's production line built engine.
Which would be fine for running 60 miles an hour on a hot rod for the next 20 years.
Right.
But not so much in a
not so much for a racing application. So we're able to do all that, and obviously, again, we're working within a parameter of rules that GM gives for these engines. So that is what blueprinting is. So we pretty much blueprint every engine that comes in the shop. If it's brand new, I blueprint them out of the box. I do so because it's more of an insurance policy nowadays. Again, do you want to be the guy with 1,000 bearing clearance or less? You know, things of that sort. And then, you know, obviously, if it's a used engine that we're going to freshen for somebody that's never been gone through before, we still do that same exact process.
Well, and if you're freshening it and you have blueprinted it before, what are you doing in those cases? Then
you're not decking the block, for instance.
Right.
You know, you're not doing that, but you're doing everything else.
Like you're like changing the piston rings, and would you still do a valve job on
it? We do the valve job, and then, you know, obviously get the combustion chamber volume right again and all that stuff. Because anytime you sink the valve a little bit, you're losing volume. So you go back, resurface the head, get it right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not an engine builder or fabricator, so I learn things all the time. All right. Oh, Scott is here from Hooker Harness.
Hello.
Hey, Scott. Nice to have you here. Absolutely. It was great. It's always great seeing Scott and Neil from Hooker Harness.
Absolutely. We always have a good time.
Always. Always. Let's see. And Andrew says, fixing to order my oil and stuff and get that. That's great. Great. Happy to help. All right. So Brad says, any update on the new style 604 valve springs? Has there been enough testing to compare to the blue springs as far as longevity? Okay. Do you want to take this one?
I can, or you can. Either way.
Go ahead.
So my experience is they last like twice as long. So yeah, no, the new spring is actually produced by an actual spring manufacturer. So yeah, they actually, that's a badass spring. Do you still need to check them? Yes. Do you still need to, you know, change them every now and again? Yes. But I mean, knock on wood, I have not seen a broken one of these new ones yet.
Nice.
So,
well, and
very good product.
A lot of times when we get a change like that, it's just because there's a different supplier for GM. So that's why the color changed.
Which is what it was.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's not that GM was like, hey, we want to change the color of the spring. It was just kind of what the new supplier supplied.
Consistency with them as far as like rating them, it still varies a little bit,
but
which you're going to have, which not much, and it's still spring steel. So I mean, again, just keep an eye on them. Do they need to be changed every 5 races or every 4 races like a freaking 602 spring? No. I mean, I don't advocate doing this, but I've had guys run like 30 races with these and never change them.
Yeah, we did. You know, we rate a ton of springs, and we just have not seen the variation with the black springs and nearly as much.
Or the not colored springs.
Right. Well, whatever, but they're black compared to being blue. I know they're not painted or anything, but just, yeah, that new style spring, we're just not seeing it like 10 or 20 pounds difference like what we would. Well, it's not that we saw 20 before, but we could see 5, 8. You know, here we're really in a tight range of what we're seeing. All right. Jason says, how many engine refreshes can you get on stock piston on a 602?
That depends entirely on how well you take care of your engine. Because what it comes down to is, per the GM spec, we're not allowed to go over 4-inch 8,000ths on the bore size. Most engines are going to come through from the factory around 4-inch 2 to 4-inch 4, 4-inch 5. So if you take care of the engine, it's not inhaling dirt. Then you go to freshen it. You can like give it a stroke in the hone, and you'll be all right for another go around. You know, new rings and all that stuff. That could be, again, depending on how well you take care of it. That could be, I don't know, 30 races. It could be 90. Just how well you take care of the damn thing.
That's like changing the oil, using good filters, good fluids.
Not inhaling dirt is the big thing.
Right. Because that's just going to sandblast the interior of your engine, right?
Yeah, it bores itself.
Yeah.
So no, we do not want to introduce dirt into the engine.
Bad thing. What's one way? Yeah, I think there's a couple ways you can check that as well, like without taking it apart. You can see that in your oil filter, right? If you're taking your oil filter apart.
Not really, no. I mean, you'll see like it'll be on your drain plug when you start seeing like a lot of shit stuck to your drain plug. Usually that's going to be piston ring. I can't say that the piston rings that they use are much softer than the cylinder walls. So unless you're just inhaling a massive amount of dirt, normally the ring goes first.
Okay. Yeah, just curious, like, look, how do you look for signs of dirt getting into your motor?
I mean, I had a guy from Midwest, 604 engine, and he sent it to me to refresh him. And he was like, this might have been the third time. And I did have to tell him, hey, this is last go around on this one. Excuse me, because the block's going to be not good the next time.
Gotcha. That's great info. And Craig agrees. He says great info. Andrew says, what's your price on a new out-of-the-box blueprinted motor?
On 602 or 604?
Yeah, well, I'll just do both.
I can remember the 604.
Okay, well, let's go with that.
99.72.
Okay. That's a good deal.
602 is, I can't remember. The freaking prices keep changing all the damn time.
Oh yeah, they changed on
these engines. So I'm like, normally it'd be 6 months. I could give you the same price. Now it's like every month I'm like having to change prices on this shit. So
literally every month. No, for real. Like it changed on Monday or Tuesday of last week. Yeah. Because I had to do that. I was running behind and I was like, oh crap. These went up another like $500.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a lot. And Brian says, free up the engine is basically free power. Yeah, agreed.
To a point, yeah.
Racer's Life says, what is the benefit of a 3-circuit carb versus 2-circuit?
Unfortunately, you're asking the wrong dude. I am not a carburetor guy. I would like to be. My brother is and all that. I don't know if we have any carburetor guys on here watching.
Yeah, sometimes we've got if we've got Bill Pink or David Smith.
Yeah, he's on here a bunch.
Sometimes they'll jump on, and if they can answer, that'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to
I said nothing brain teasing tonight.
No. Ooh, I see lots of words and number things. Anyway, Brian does say proper clearances, thumbs up on that. Ryan's here. He says, would too large of an exhaust collector on a 360 cubic inch 10-to-1 engine make it lazy when picking up the throttle? Have a set with 3.5-inch collector and another with 3-inch. 3.5 inch made more power and torque on the dyno.
I would have thought it would have been the exact opposite, honestly. Just depending on the header. I mean, design of the header probably has a lot to do with it, but yeah, no, I mean, normally on something like that, God, I'd be on a 3-inch collector all day long.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would be the case.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm not going to know. So I think there's not a universe where I would know the answer to that question.
I mean, that being said, will it make it late? It should make it lazy, honestly. I mean, because I'd want to be comparing like where your peak torque is, because that's what you're going to feel when it's lazy. It's not horsepower. You're feeling torque. So if it moves the torque up in the RPM range, then yeah, it'd make it lazy as shit. Especially if you're coming off the corner, way under or way over that peak torque.
Well, and he's got a follow-up. He says it's the same tube diameters, different tube lengths.
Mm-hmm.
The 3.5-inch collector is on a set of Speedworks headers. The 3-inch is a run-of-the-mill Schoenfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Speedworks. I've had one customer we dynoed some of those headers for. Now this was on Crate engine, not what you're describing. So wasn't my favorite header that I've ever dynoed on that application. But yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, the 3-inch collector should be the way to
Yeah,
go.
but look at it though. I mean, you've got a 3.5-inch collector with a designed set of Speedworks headers.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, we're not comparing.
It's apples and oranges.
You've got same tube diameters with different tube lengths. Then you've got two completely different headers. So
it's totally different deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I would think, 3.5-inch collectors should be way lazy on that application. I mean, when you get into 3.5-inch collectors, I mean, you got to be, you're talking like, 15, 16 to 1, 400 plus cubic inch motors that, need that big collector. And even then, they don't even need it anymore. Because like that makes no sense.
Interesting. Andrew asks, you do recommend checking match springs after every race, right? Yeah.
I would still check your springs after every race. Like I said, I have not seen a 604 spring, the newest style. Right. I've not seen a broken one. But that's not to say that you're not going to be the first dude. So.
Well, you were able to say that for a long time when we went to the beehives. Yeah. The blue, just the regular blue springs.
And then we started to see them.
Right. After a period of time. All right. Jason says, what is the best filter you recommend? Of course, I don't know if he's talking about air filter or oil filter, but for air filters, we recommend the Walkers. And for oil filters, we've got the Wicks. Specifically, we use the 51061R or the 51069R if you need the short style filter.
Yeah, just depending on the application.
Right. Yeah. But it doesn't have that anti-drain back valve. Sometimes people buy those because there's like a good deal on them, but those are really meant for if the oil filter is going to be in like an upside down kind of location. It's not the best thing for a racing application. And let's see. And then Andrew meant to say 602 might have been asked about the blueprinting, but you can't remember. We can always cover that another time.
Oh, it wasn't like a spring.
I can't remember if it was the spring or the blueprinting. I think it was the blueprinting. Okay. All right. Stuart says, Steve, what is what RPM is lowest you want to see on a recall after a race on a 602?
Lowest? Whatever gets the job done. Honestly, I mean, usually like on the guys over here, they're like going fast. Like a late model, for instance, or even damn street stock. Most of the guys that have the car freed up enough to where they're actually, going fast. They're showing 6,200, 6,300 on the tack, usually. So. Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew says, I run a Kevco kit on my 602 with the BA headers before the turndowns, like they say, no mufflers. I know how Steve feels about the evap kit, but if I do go with anti-reversion mufflers, should it be before or after the muffler?
Before.
Because you got to want to be as close to the collector as possible.
Well, right? No, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the header, but and the primary tube length and everything else. But yeah, it needs to be before.
Good to know. And Brian says collectors could be the difference, one merge versus non-merge, or if it has the spike.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, on the 3-inch versus 3.5 deal.
Right. Yeah, just totally different designs beyond just the tube lengths. And Tom's here from California. He says Walker air filter is badass. Thanks, Kate. You bet, of course. Yeah. Well, I probably learned that from. Well, you guys did all the testing out there for the Walker.
Right. Yeah.
Walker stuff. So yeah, we're very happy.
That's a good product. I never recommended an oiled filter before we ran across Walker.
Yeah.
And now we do.
Yeah. And that's what I was like, is that
because it takes hardly any oil.
Hardly any.
It's not like the other brand where you have to slather that shit on there. Otherwise you bore your engine in one race if it's dusty out.
Yeah. You got to spray it like you're using Aquanet to keep your hair straight up in the air during the 80s, right? Yep. But with Walker, it's just a couple of drops and it'll do you. So it's good. Andrew says, I'm just wondering about that. Would you recommend putting the anti-reversion mufflers with the Kevco kit?
I'm not a big fan of that evacuation kit. Does it make a difference? Yeah, it's going to help a little bit, but I don't want to be sucking dirt in my motor.
Okay, but is there any reason why you wouldn't add anti-reversion mufflers to that setup?
I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha. I see Wichita Tire and Alignment is here. How long do you think the Walker air filters last before they need replaced, or is it just case by case? Well, if you're in Wichita, you have far different conditions than the red clay we have down here. So I think yours are probably going to last a lot longer than ours. Well, race-wise.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Alex has got air filters that he's used for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, he has 2, and that way he cleans one, and has one drying like week to week.
Yeah, week to week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then he got one for the trade show, I assume.
Yeah. Because it's the part that's going to stick out of the hood.
Exactly.
So he wanted it to look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they can last for a while if they're well taken care of.
Yeah, it's just like normal maintenance on anything else. I mean, the material is going to last quite a while. I mean, barring, taking a direct rock hit or something crazy.
But. Or the people who have tried to clean them with a pressure washer.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. That's a thing.
Yeah, pressure washer.
Actually, I haven't heard that with the walkers, but I used to have that with the R2C, where people said, well, I mean, they're washable, right? Yeah, but it collapsed when I was washing my car. Dude, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you'll have that.
Yeah, that was fun. And Wichita says, yes, I have 3 and just rotate them, but I just didn't know if I should replace them every so often.
No, I mean, so long as you're like maintaining that filter right and you're oiling it correctly. I mean, if you start seeing dirt, then I don't know, there may be some sort of issue, but I honestly don't know anybody that's ever replaced one.
I think it's more of like how it looks, and I would keep an eye on like the urethane seal, make sure that's not getting dried out. That's a big one. And one of the reasons why Walker came out with the foam pre-filter, a lot of times people think that a pre-filter, like an outerwears, is going to, if you're in a dusty situation, that it's going to, like protect your filter. Well, it doesn't, because it has no dirt trapping ability. No. And especially in a dusty environment, it's actually going to cut down on the flow. So what an outerwears is really good for is it's really meant for like when you're out there at hot laps and there's these big mud clods that are piping, piling up. This keeps those from getting your filter. But on that point, the reason why the foam pre-filter, why Ben developed that at Walker, was for the guys that race in really rocky conditions. Mm-hmm. And so rocks would come up and get into these air filters, and he would call it rooster tailing them. Yeah. And so that's one way to protect it if you're in a rocky environment. Wichita, Kansas. I know that there's some rocky tracks, or at least my dad took a rock to the cheek when he was racing when I was a kid. So in Kansas, so that was my prediction. But if you get a rock through your air filter, that would be something. But other than that, I think just outside physical things, I haven't seen or heard or anything like just wearing out.
Yeah, if you're washing it with the right soap and using the right oil on it, God, I don't know how long they'll last, honestly.
Yeah, I don't either.
Again, like my kids got one or 2 that have been like 2-3 years old now.
Yeah. And Tom says his is a year old and it's just like new.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're back to the thermostat. Mm-hmm. Bank says, circling back to the thermostat deal, running a 525 on X85. Do you recommend running the thermostat or no?
I don't know. Reason I don't know is because on my kid's car, we do not have a thermostat on the 525. And we haven't had much issue getting heat in the engine rapidly. So we're not like burning like a ton of fuel like you would with like a 604 or 602. And then that thing still runs warm. So even on E85, he's around 200, 210 all the time. And that's without a thermostat. So no, my whole thought process on that's kind of out there still. I know that Art's making stuff for the 525, which we'll probably put on Alex's car just to test it out. But I don't know.
Well, okay.
If you're having a problem getting heat, then yes, definitely run one.
Well, here's a question. So we know that they work on crates.
Yeah. Okay.
And we know that they work on supers. In fact, that was, Art had told me that there's a team out there, he wouldn't tell me who, that saved 2 barrels of fuel over the course of the racing season because of the thermostat. So
right in the like $1,200 or more better.
Right in the middle there is the 525.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be why wouldn't it be a good application?
Well, I don't think it wouldn't not be. I just don't have one on Alex's car right now because
it wouldn't not be. No, I understand. No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
But I just don't.
But it could be it could also be a temperature setting too, because the ones for crates are at a different thermostat temperature setting than what they are for supers.
Yeah.
So perhaps if Art's coming out with one specifically for a 525, perhaps that's kind of like the kicker there. I don't know. I mean, it's a really good question. We'll have to track back with Art.
I mean, it's certainly not going to hurt.
Right. True.
So
true. But may or may not be like, oh my God, you absolutely have to have
this.
This.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Good thought. Andrew says, on a blueprinted motor, do the seals and gaskets help with not sucking in dirt on a 602? Or was that just an out-of-the-box Speedway motor? I remember you talking about it last week on the live.
So no, none of the seals are designed to pull a vacuum, if that's what you're asking.
Oh yeah.
So no, the timing cover seal and the rear main seal are not designed to pull a vacuum. Mm-hmm. So if you're pulling a vacuum, then you're essentially sucking dirt straight in the engine.
And Wichita's back says, thank you. I buy all my filter soap and oil from Kate under the alias Chris Kratzer. I thought it might be you, Chris.
Nice.
But it's been fun calling you Wichita.
God, I haven't seen him since PRI 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
I know. We haven't been to PRI in forever. I know. I was going to go this year, but then my brother was getting that sinus infection. And so, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, we're going to start a firestorm right now. James is like, are y'all selling the rated rockers yet? I actually had a Facebook message the other day. Do you guys have the 1.5 rockers?
Oh, God. Do not succumb to shysters, please.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got people blatantly ripping people off. Generally with their 83-pound springs and 85-pound springs and shit like that.
You know what was really cool last week?
The latest thing is the
rockers.
The rockers. Yes.
No, it was really cool. I had somebody come by in the shop last week and they were asking questions about the valve springs. And at my shop, we actually have a whole room that is completely dedicated to valve springs.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I mean,
no, Artie's messaging me.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So you're going to share with the class?
Art's sending me one to test.
Oh, okay. It's 525.
Yep. All right. We'll be testing it. I can give you accurate feedback on it.
Well, anyway, this was what was really cool this last week is I had a customer come in and he was asking questions about the matched valve springs. Mm-hmm. And I said, because he was asking, well, do you have the 84-pound ones?
Right.
I said, come on back. I want to show you. I want to show you. This is my bench tester. And I want to show you exactly how we rate them. And I want to show you that whether you pull this handle or I pull it, that we're going to get, within a pound or so. Mm-hmm. There's always a little bit of variation, not because of, I'm just saying I could pull it 4 times and it's going to be, it'll be 168.9. And then the next time it's 171.1. Right. It's it's going to be within a range. Because the way we rate them is not at install height because that wouldn't tell you anything.
Stupid.
Right. So we rate them about halfway through the path of travel. So if somebody asks, what are your 602 springs rate at? Well, average about 170. Now, I'm not telling you at what, because it makes no difference. It doesn't, rating them in install height just is so wrong. But it was really great. I got to actually show someone and they saw it for themselves.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna do something here real quick while we're live on here. All right. So number one, we're dealing with hydraulic lifter engines, as far as the rated rocker arm goes. So I'm just gonna say, I'm just throwing this number out here. Let's say you got a 350 lift cam. In other words, that's what the lobe lift is. So you got 0.350.
Okay.
And you multiply that by 1.5. 0.5. So now you got 525 left. Okay.
I feel like I need that whiteboard that one guy has like a
So now you got 520. You got
525. Okay.
525 thousandths left.
All right, here we go.
I'm just throwing that number out there because it's easy. Right?
All right. We got 0.525 right here. Okay.
So then you take that same 0.350 and you multiply that by 1.48.
Okay.
And you got 518 left.
All right. Is that
all right?
Okay.
Now we're going to take the same thing. We're going to go 0.350 times 1.45.
Okay.
And you got 507 thousandths left. All right. If anyone thinks that the difference between winning and losing,
the camera's there.
The difference between winning and losing is that amount of lift on a hydraulic lift cam, I've got a bridge to sell you in fucking Boston.
No, you've got some rated rocker arms to sell them.
For a stupid amount of money.
In other words, it does not make a big difference.
It makes zero difference. And if somebody's trying to sell you that, tell them to get fucked because they're a bunch of damn ripoff artists.
Well, we know James is messing with us because he
watches the show. I know. But I mean, I've been looking for a good reason to damn.
I like this.
Do that
I like
because
this. I'll have to bring the whiteboard next time.
It's true.
Yes, just in case you get creative. I have to put a whiteboard behind us. I know I still put our background back.
Now, what happens if the rocker's too good? Let's go the other way.
Ooh, let's go.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
What happens there? We've got.
So if you have like a 1.6?
0.350 times 1.5, I don't know.
8.
Pick a number. 8.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be almost a 6, but we'll go 1.5. We'll go 1.53.
Okay.
You got 535 left. You gained 10,000.
Wow.
10 thousandths worth of airflow. And you can do that on a flow bench all day long, and it makes absolute fucking zero difference. So,
gotcha.
No, you got a bunch of rip-off artists.
Yeah. Well, I'd be curious, like when it starts making a difference one way or the other, or whatever.
Oh, I don't know if you want to like go put 1.7s or 1.8s on it. That would make a hell of a difference.
Okay. But then that would be illegal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because it'd be a different product, so it's not even in the same range.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I see you've run out of beer, so we'll kind of go through some questions here. All right. So Bank says we just have trouble keeping heat in the motor, say for qualifying. We get it hot and then sit in staging, and it cools right back down to 160 or cooler. And that would be talking about like the arts.
I get that, and then I mean that's actually okay if so long as the oil temperature's up. I mean, because really what you want up is the oil temperature. Water temperature does make a difference because the intake could still be froze up. But once you're in staging and your oil temperature is fine, I just shut the engine off and let that heat sink into the engine.
Oh, good to know.
Which will normally get rid of that iced up intake manifold.
Gotcha. And Stuart says, I was referring to how would you let the RPMs go on a 602 before changing to a lower gear?
Oh, how low?
Okay. Would you let the RPMs go before changing to a lower gear?
I mean, hell, if you're 6,000.
Okay.
Because I mean, you want to stay in that range, in my opinion. That 62 to 64 range is usually like where you want to be.
All right, Jared's got a question. He says, "How far do you run the race fan from the radiator?"
I mean, our stuff is probably 2 inches away, 3 inches away.
Okay.
And then obviously we got a shroud built.
Absolutely. That's a big one. And I know we've gone back and forth with the whole half in, half out, or all the way in the shroud or out of the way to out of the shroud.
Our stuff's in the shroud.
In the shroud.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott says, got to go to PRI to join the party. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So sorry. I was planning on going this year with Jimmy and it just didn't work out. And actually, Scott, wherever you are is where the party is. I'm just telling you.
It is always where the party is.
Scott is the party. Scott and Neil are the party.
Unless they have paper straws.
Oh.
Then he gets all cranky.
Yeah. But you know what?
Throwing them at waitresses.
We're still wondering who is behind the flowers that were delivered to the lovely ladies at Crate Insider, signed from Mr. 208. We're still wondering.
I got a feeling it was friggin' Scott.
He's honestly, He's denied it, but he's the only one that is that thoughtful.
I know.
I mean, for real.
Oh, I know.
We've asked. It's got to be him.
Fucking room 208.
Well, I don't think he was 208, but I think he's the one that.
No, he wasn't. That's what I'm getting at. He wasn't room 208. No, we know that.
There was like a whole thing, just a whole running joke from the Cars Racing show. It's just one of those things. All right. Andrew says, I run a thermostat with my 602. It has helped me tremendously on fuel consumption to get the car up to temp. But would you recommend keeping it and running a dual bypass neck for security measures with it, or just try running different restrictors and doing away with the thermostat?
Hang on, do what now?
Okay, he runs a thermostat.
Yeah, I can read.
Okay. All right, while he's reading, I never liked dead air, so.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead and you talk.
Yeah, because it's not like he's going to listen anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean.
All right, so what do you got?
Well, I mean.
You're not a big fan of water restrictors.
No, I hate water restrictors. I mean, well, it depends. I mean, if you're running a single core radiator, then yeah, you do need some restriction in there. Double pass, you don't, because you automatically lose a certain amount of flow. Mm-hmm. Me and Art have actually had this conversation about this, and Howard Stewart used to tell me it was 33%, but Art said it's actually, I think it was greater than that.
Oh wow!
So yeah. So on a double pass, no restriction, nothing like that. I would certainly be bypassing like what Art's got going on to where the water pump doesn't cavitate. So, yeah.
Alan is currently waiting for the polished push rods.
That'll probably be the next damn thing.
But racers can't really change their own push rods, though, can they?
Yeah, they can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It's like outside the bolt. So.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Craig says, a friend of mine just got a set of those 602 84-pound springs. No. I just said, use Crate Insider. He paid way too much. I said, they're killing you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They
killer
yeah. Stop it. All right. James laughing. And Brian says, back in my built engine days, the W slots held up better than the T slots. No push rods going through them. Right. I don't know what any of those things mean. Okay. All right. And Gary's here. That means that's awesome. And Banks says, awesome info. Thanks a bunch. And Dean says, Art is the man. Absolutely. He's fantastic. He's and mofo. David Smith is here. Good to see y'all. Well, thank you for joining us. David, there's actually a question about carburetors a little bit earlier in the something about a two-circuit versus a three-circuit.
What's the benefit of a three-circuit versus a two-circuit carburetor?
Yeah.
Or is there any?
Yeah.
So I'm not a carburetor guy. So
I'm clearly not a carburetor girl.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we'll wait on David there.
But I know smart people. Yep. That's the whole idea there, is to know smart people. It's the best thing.
My phone keeps blowing up because it's almost football time.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be heading to, any big plans for the week for you, Steve? You're watching football.
Well, I mean, tonight, yeah.
Trivia on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got engines put together. So that's like the big plans.
Yeah.
Put 6 together last week.
How many are you shooting for this week?
At least 5.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll be heading to Iowa this weekend to go to the Race Logic Chassis School for the IMCA stock cars. So that'll be interesting to see. I'll be at Dave Hammond's shop, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Dave's come down here and visited us a bunch. And
absolutely.
So I'm fully aware that it's January and that I'm going to Iowa. Normally I would not have put those two things together in the same sentence.
Would not be my first choice.
It would not. Actually, no, what's worse is I grew up in Iowa, so I'm familiar with it.
Right.
I'd rather be there in January, probably end of January, because you kind of get that like winter, this early spring that lasts for like a little bit of time. And
right.
Then, yeah. Rather be there than 105 degrees and 80% humidity in the summertime. Well, it's wicked hot.
Get a hell of that.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, I mean, David can answer on the carburetor thing if he sees it.
Yep.
And we'll just wrap up with a couple things here. Andrew says, thank you so much. I learned a lot tonight. I'd like to talk to Steve and bounce a couple things off of him. I know he's a busy man, but just wondering where I could contact him.
No, just put the phone number
and let me see here. And I probably have that. Here's his phone number right here. Steve's phone number is 828-286-0780. You can grab him there. And actually, we have an answer from David, too. Dave says, go 49ers. I think that's who you're rooting for as well.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
No.
Gary says, thanks for the keychain. You're welcome. And David Smith says, 3-circuit is good on a big carburetor or on a big motor. Otherwise, 2-circuit.
There you go.
So thank you so much for answering that. And that way, hey, we got the cool, smart people on the show. Yeah, that's great.
We try to surround ourselves with smart people.
We sure do. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap things up. Thank you all for being here. Thanks so much for being part of the show. Any final words, Steve?
I'm going to watch football.
Okay. Hey, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday.